Hello, comrades. Breana here. Welcome to another episode of Signs of Breana. Signs of Breana is a collection of musings, dreams, and dialogues documenting one person's path towards elderhood, liberation, and a life worth dreaming. Hello, comrades. This is Brianna, and this is an episode of Brianna TV with Nico. Nico, will you share a little bit about who you are, what you be doing, maybe where you are, whatever you'd like to share?
Um, Hi, this is Nico. I am a photographer, I'm a videographer. I also am practicing intuitive, so I offer human design and tarot readings, and I also dabble in astrology. But basically, I am someone that finds a lot of joy in seeing other people and celebrating that through these different modalities. And right now I'm in New York City. I'm in Tompkins Square Park currently, sitting where later today I will be co-creating we're calling it a rage rave in the park as a somatic, um, basically like a somatic ceremony, ritual, protest, pushing against the forces of oppression and bringing the honoring of the Great Mother to the street in New York City.
Mm. Rage rave. I'm here for it. I want to go to your rage rave later today.
It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna
Um,
be so good.
I'm also newly exploring performance art. So just like stepping into kind of a new uh, vulnerability and layer of moving art through my own body and then in the camera to witness that. And then I also write. So it's like a combination of things.
We love a transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary artist. In all the mediums. What's your human design, Nico?
I am a 4/6 emotional projector.
Do you know what emotional wave you have?
Yeah, I have I have both the individual and tribal waves.
I'm
Yeah.
still learning what that means, but it's now recorded so that I can look it up later. Um, I would love to start by talking a little bit about being bizarre in public. And you and I connected because you were going to potentially like co-facilitate a retreat. And then we had a little Zoom intro extravaganza when I was in Paris and you were in Bali. It was really lovely. Um, and then I feel like we started to exchange voice memos and talk about human design and living nomadically. And you've really like been in different places and it's been lovely to watch your movement. And I in 24 and the beginning of 25, I had some movement as well, but I've definitely enjoyed watching and admiring your ability to like live nomadically. Um, but that just as a little love origin story. But more recently, as you've been, I think, exploring performance art and like sharing publicly about your practices, I reached out to you because I was like, I want to talk about being bizarre in public because like 2 weeks ago, there was two different circumstances that I experienced. Number one, I like to walk around my neighborhood and like talk to the trees and the plants and see the insects and shit. And I had the urge to do a headstand. And there's like very little grass in the desert, and there's grass next to this school. And it was like really early morning before school started. And I felt this discomfort in my body, like just wanting to do my headstand, but in being in public, just like acting with agency with my body about like what I would want to do. And then there was a night where I was like, I want to see the stars, and I'm not going to drive to do that, you know? And I went and I got on the hood of my Prius in downtown Albuquerque to like look at the stars. Um, and the humans like walking their dogs and shit were uncomfortable with me on the hook. Like I could see the like reactions and just like feel the energy of their discomfort and my own discomfort about doing something unusual. Um, yeah, so I guess that those experiences encouraged me to be like, what do you think? How do you sit with that discomfort? Where do you think it comes from? Like, yeah, anything and everything that you want to share.
I just I love these two examples because, you know, what I hear in them is just like a desire to just want to be yourself and like live. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And why does being ourselves feel like it has to conflict with being loved, accepted, part of a community, right? Like part of a group,
Yes.
part of society, right? And um, because it's like society is just made up a bunch of individuals. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like there's like what is this world if not a bunch of individual people, that are we're like trying to live together. Um, and I feel like there's so many things that are done that are really harmful to people. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like there are things that people do in the name of being themselves that actually are very harmful. And I don't even know if it's that they're being themselves or they're so disconnected from themselves. You know what I mean? That they're being something, but it's not themselves actually. Like, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Um, and I always hold all of this, I think, because I come up against the same thing and I do a lot of bizarre things in public. Like I'm with you. There's just things that I want to do. And I'm like, well, I just want to do it. Like
Like
when
what?
I go like running, I use quotes around
I
that. It
like
just
the
like
all of these quotes that you're hitting me with. Yeah.
it just turns into me like dancing. You know what I mean? Like so it's like I'll like run in public, like it's like normal to run for whatever reason, like that's socially acceptable. But then as soon as you just start dancing, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like now you've broken some sort of like barrier of expectation or what's acceptable or what's like allowed to as a public expression because it's like we're not in like a club or this isn't a class or I'm not like
Mm.
on stage, so therefore doing something expressive and creative with my body is somehow against the norm, and it's like the reality is there's no law that says that you can't do that. There's no rule, I mean, there's an unspoken rule maybe, but like in reality, there's actually nobody stopping you from doing that. But for some reason, it's like you can feel the like energetic barrier, and it's mostly because
Hmm.
nobody else is doing it. If everybody else did that, then it would be normal. It's like running. Like everyone else goes for a run. That's totally normal to do in public. If anyone else can spontaneously break into their own dance party, every time they did that, like it would be normal, so it's really like when you're doing something that goes against the kind of dominant culture that's around you.
Hmm.
It brings that up, and my experience of doing anything bizarre in public is that there's usually at least one person that's like, thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I
whenever
like that you're doing.
yes, they're
Yeah.
like, thank God, and then like when I see someone else doing that, I'm that person that's like, thank you. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like literally you're doing the Lord's work by just doing whatever you want to do that's like coming from your heart of self-expression. It's like the world absolutely needs that. um so yeah, it's like holding all of that, and I think just being, it feels like what it is being so, it's being embodied, it's being rooted in the truth of like doing this because I really want to, you know what I mean? It could be that you're doing it because you want to break through some sort of norm that's happening around you, right? Like, I mean, that's true. You could be doing it to be um what like radical in the space that you're in. And you might then be met with you know what I mean? The energy of like doing something because you're trying to be radical. But I think a lot of times it's just that we just want to do something, and
Mm.
it's so pure actually. It's just like this is what wants to be expressed through me right now, and I'm not going to get in the way of that. So I'm just going to do it. And
Right.
there's going to be a whole mix of reactions to it, usually.
Mm. It's it's curious that you mentioned I've my brain went 17 different ways. I went to this sort of like normie food hall yesterday, which is not my go-to, but you do what you gotta do when you live in a small town and you want dinner after like 8 p.m., you know? And I showed up as myself. And so I feel like I need to show you. It needs to be show and tell. I showed up in my hat, um, and like with a sheer top, and you can like see my top surgery scars and like, I don't know, a little heel, my hat with this
Oh,
like massive bow.
I'm obsessed with that. Are you kidding? What?
So I'm there like with this, with my top
Wow.
surgery scars out, with my belly out, we're just like, and I was like, oh, I'm usually not just like I'm usually going to the like queer line dancing or going to the pool with my friends and there's going to be some other trannies there. Or, like I'm usually not like this black and this trans and this visible at like the Walmart, you know? Um, and I just was like, well, here we go, you know? And I like more recently had a provide and it was fine. It was fine. And I always know when like especially like children or like teenagers are like staring at me, I'm like, "Oh, you're gay. Like you're future gay. And now you've seen me and this will encourage your gay transformation. I will be your gay gateway drug." And just like Natasha Leone in like But I'm a Cheerleader, I was like, "Oh my God, like we need to see things." And sometimes it's just like a seed. But I have this like beautiful acu acupuncturist who I've worked with, and like we're both bald, but I like choose bald, and she is bald for other reasons. And like she said to me recently, like how excited she was to see me because I chose to adorn myself in this way and that it like meant something to her. And that doesn't just happen to me like once in like it happens for me consistently that people are like thank you for like being yourself, which is like a really bonkers thing to hear. And I do my best to like feel it, like let that be because there's so many moments where I'm like, ugh, me again today. Like there's not another option. And I think I think one of the things you and I share is like I would I was open to like signing my own ticket out of here, you know. I was like, this is for the birds, it's really painful. I'm suffering. I don't see the fucking point. Like, I could do something else, like be stardust, like put me back in the earth, like let the worms eat me. That sounds nice. And I think that there's something for me about like you, what's that musical called? Spring Awakening, The Bitch of Living, and also like the reclamation, the fury that like I will persist, I will survive. Some sort of
I
like insert Gloria Gaynor song. Isn't that her? If I'm wrong, the gays will let me know.
think you're right.
Um, but yeah, there's something about like that binary of like see ya and also like see me. Mm.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There's so much in there in what you shared. I'm trying to like, I think, excuse me. For me, it was, I made a choice. There was just a choice point. I mean, it's like, it's not. a choice. I continue to make choices. I mean, I continue to make this choice every day. Like you said, you're like, me again? Okay, I'm choosing you again, I guess. And the thing is, actually, there are other options, but they're all kind of painful. Has been my experience. Like, if I'm not choosing to be me, I can do other like things for a while, but I start to just feel very adrift and hurt and empty. It's like playing, I can play a part for a while. Like I kind of like am good at acting. Um, but then at some point, it just becomes too painful. And I feel like the choice point for me was that moment where I hit like the rockest of bottomests. And I was like, I, yeah, I'm either gonna just like get out of here because Earth is ghetto, or I'm just gonna do this thing. I'm gonna like do it. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do it and experience all the things and live as fully as possible. And it's been a long road since that moment of choice point, like consciously being like, okay, I'm doing this thing and then continuing to choose it again and again. Um, but it feels like through the continual choosing, it just keeps pulling back layers of like, well, I want to try that, or I want to try that, or like, I want to know what that feels like. You know what I mean? And part of that is like getting an inspiration to do something and being like, well, I've never done that before. So I should probably like do it in order to know how that is. It's like, I think it's like being a kid or something. It's just like I'm like orienting to life in this sort of like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I would love to experience that. And then I sometimes I experience things like very recently, I experienced something and I was like, I don't need to experience that again. Like, I'm good, but there's like an aliveness to, and I think this like being bizarre in public thing to me is, um, it's that level of like, like I'm not like a adrenaline junkie in the sense of like, I need to like jump off of cliffs or like go bungee jumping or like, race cars or something like that. Like, I don't really, dig any of that stuff. But like for me, there's the adrenaline junkiness, if you will, like that kind of pushing the envelope of like comfort comes it's more like emotional, yeah, like psycho emotional for me. And I feel like the performance piece is just it really is this high of like, like I'm being seen. Oh, holy shit, what am I gonna do? And I think as someone who has felt really unseen and misunderstood most of my life, there's like there's a deep like need for that, and it's like it's an interesting way to kind of like get that need met. And I'm not saying like some of the examples that you gave, like doing a headstand or something, I wouldn't do it that for that reason, but I think some of the more performance art stuff for me is like, let me see what I can show people, like let me like ride the edge of like, holy shit, am I really gonna like say this thing in public? Am I really gonna do this thing in public? And it's not just for the shock factor, it's like because I I really somehow want this to be known and seen before I die, like there's something in this conversation of like the death and living like thing that it's like, yeah, like I feel this like urgency, I think, to do things like that because I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm dying. Like literally every moment I'm inching towards death. Like I I want to know what this feels like. I want to know what, I want to give it a fucking go, And it's like it's also like if you have any kind of like performer in you, which I do, it's just a part of me that's like
Mm.
like can't really work stuff out in real life, like needs the container of like performance to go there, to like go to the place where I'm like, this is fucking wild and terrifying. And like, nobody's going to like me if I reveal that this is somehow a part of me. This, like, and
Hmm.
it's just like in the spectrum of being a human, it's not even, you know what I mean? But it's like, oh shit, like this is like a level of my like darkness that I'm like I don't want to bring this into my relationships actually. Like, I mean, I can and I have unconsciously and consciously, but like there's something about working it out through art, through the performance, through the self-expression that's like, oh my God, like finally, like I'm on my terms getting this scene and like finally, like I'm making something around this. So it's like, it's also not like misunderstood or misperceived or like, you know, and you can't control any of that anyway. And that's how art is. Everyone's going to receive it differently. But there's this piece of like, yeah, like my insecurity, like this last piece that I made was like, oh yeah, all my insecurities, like I'm just gonna put that into this performance piece and put it out there in this very like loud way and do something that feels like really kind of like, like breaking the, fucking casing around myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and through that, the like catharsis of releasing that and being like, wow,
Mm,
like I don't have to pretend that I'm like quote unquote normal anymore. What a fucking
mm,
relief. Like that's like literally what I'm here for is just to be as bizarre as I am. Not as like I think I should be or as like, you know what I mean, but like as I actually am, which is
yes,
very bizarre. Like fucking
utterly peculiar.
yeah.
I was saying this yesterday. I was like, not that I'm into surveillance, but if there were a camera in my house 24 hours a day, y'all will get a show. Like the little songs that I'm doing, the dance moves, the going from like watch a little bit of this to play a song on the piano to doing my dishes to doing a little like the amount of like little weird idiosyncrasies. And I'm like, this should be turned up. Like every time I can't find something, there has to be a song sung to locate the item you know? And like, I love what you're saying about like, oh, it's cool to run, but like, it's not cool to dance. And my first half marathon, because running's boring. Running is boring. When I started to get bored, I listened to like Bay rap and danced the last like mile and a half. So much more enjoyable. I'm like, oh, maybe if I started to do miles of dancing, I would want to run again because I need there has to be more exciting, like I was like kicking a pine cone down the street for like few blocks yesterday. I was like, me and this pine cone are having an experience. Um, yeah, I love what you're sharing around like trying shit and like the kid of it all. And like shout out to all the parents. And also I will never be one. And I'm so grateful I don't have any fucking kids. And like I just so grateful. Let me say that two times for the back. And there's something about in my life, I get to prioritize trying new things, whether it's like, oh, I want to learn an instrument. Oh, I want to invest in my voice. I was like, maybe I'll take fencing. I was like, ooh, roller skates. Like, not just in a like, ooh, a squirrel, not like that, but like I genuinely have an interest in like trying things a little bit for a little while or a long bit. And also to your point, trying something and then saying like I don't need to try that again. Um and I've been it's so curious like aging um and being really honest about like, oh, I am dying. I'm dying. I'll never live this day again. This body is doing a great job and it will decay and it will falter and it will change and the skin will change and like the moments when I find myself warring against my own body or like, oh, there's something that doesn't feel right. I've been having this like, I don't know, this sensation in my like right eye, and I keep being like, it's gonna be like this forever, or it's gonna be worse. Like this is probably the start of the end. Um,
Relatable. So relatable.
just laying in bed at 1 a.m.,
I'm dying.
yeah.
I'm dying. Pretty
Like
much.
Making every doctor's appointment and then just stressing in wait because you don't get a doctor's appointment the same week. It's weeks out
Yeah.
because I live in America, like I can't see
Yeah.
someone for my urgent needs. Bitch, better wait. But I think that there's something about like I was giving myself a little pep talk and I was like, aging gracefully is about compassion, not about how you are perceived by other people who you don't know and you don't know what they're actually thinking. Like the aging graceful process is about your internal experience of like e what's the word?
Equanimity.
Yeah. And ease and joy with the fact that like I will change, I will age, I will die. And also, will
And
you tell me what a fucking 4-6 is at some point?
yeah.
Thank you.
I also just realized I forgot I had a call next year. I have a
In
call in
9.
9 minutes. In 9 minutes. So that's really fun. Well, let me just say one more thing. Because what you're talking about, what ultimately what we're talking about here to me is about freedom. And it's always about
Mm.
freedom to me. Like I'm an Aquarius, like, sun. Aquarius sun, Aries rising, Aries moon, Aquarius Venus. So like
Woo.
literally I'm like freedom. You know what I mean? Like I just want to do whatever I want to do at any given moment. Now, that being said, part of being free, I think, takes deep uh, awareness and like social consciousness because there's
Mm.
people that like value freedom but they don't give a fuck about anybody else or like anything
Woo.
else, and then what we have is like the problems that we have, it's like I think that like the kind of like shadow side of Aquarius is sort of being like so detached that you just like don't care.
Mm.
And that's real, but then it's like the beauty of being detached is also that you can see things from a bigger perspective and from further away, so you can kind of
Mm.
see the truth of things more too, which is really helpful. um and so I think it's like for me, this that all of this has to do with freedom, and I'm here for freedom, but not just for myself, it's like for everybody. And so I think that's why the performance piece or the doing stuff in public is so fun, because it's like so many people tell me that when they see stuff that I make, it's like they just feel a lot of permission to be themselves. And I'm like,
Mm.
perfect. Like that's literally what I'm here for, is just like the freedom to be ourselves. Because like you said, like people will thank you for being you because that's literally all you can do. You know what I mean? Like else, what else are
Your
you here to
face.
do? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's nothing else to do but be yourself, like literally, like, and I think everything else that we do, like, being in service to other people, like protecting things that, we want to protect, like advocating for things we want to advocate for, um, being a part of like the global human community, like all of that, I think it's never going to be, I just don't think it's going to be ever 100% genuine if you're not being yourself. Because if you're
Real.
doing it because you think you should, there's always going to be resentment or bitterness that builds. There's always going to be burnout that happens, because it's just like a concept of something that you think you should do. And the reality is the only thing that feels sustainable to me is being yourself,
Mm.
100%. And it's worthwhile. The journey to like actually knowing what it means to be oneself is the most worthwhile journey I think we take as human beings. It's why we get incarnated in these separate individual bodies, hearts, and minds. It's why we're not just like, you know, an amorphous blob of consciousnesses stuck together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not
Mm.
what's happening. Like, we came here to be individuated and at the same time be deeply interdependent and connected to the entire web of life, in my opinion.
Mm.
um it feels like anytime we sacrifice one or the other, it creates a lot of dis-ease and dysfunction and like pain and suffering. It's like when we're too much the individual and we lose connection to the whole, it's very painful. And then when we're too much connected to the whole and we're not allowing ourselves to be the individual that we are, it's also very painful. And it's kind of it's a nuanced dance and also a tall order to hold it all. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I'm not saying this is like, it's easy to say, and it's also like quite different to live that, but it feels
Mm-hmm.
like to me it's the work. It's the,
Mm-hmm.
it's like tending the garden is practicing this dichotomy that we live in, as human beings. And it feels like when we do things that push against social norms, it's like it feels like a deep spiritual practice to me, of like you said, noticing what comes up in your body and what's actually true and present, like being really intimate with, why am I doing this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and whatever reason is fine, it's all good, but it's also like, that investigation of like, why am I not doing this, is also an interesting question. You know what I mean? And to really like know and understand that, I think it's like each of us coming alive to what we can add to the world is so beautiful. And it's like, not everybody has to be an artist, or, not everybody is, but like, even if you're a scientist or something, it's like you bringing your individual intuition, wisdom, way of looking at things to that field is so important. And it's what leads to these like brilliant, inventions and breakthroughs and all kinds of stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
not someone who's just following the rules and playing by the rules. You know what I mean? It's like someone who knows the rules and is like consciously breaking them is usually the one like in service, to like divine inspiration that wants to move through them, is usually the one that's bringing something new and important that's going to help people. You know what I mean? Then they might not be thinking about that at the time, or they might be. I don't know. Sometimes it's like, sometimes it's totally not conscious that it's going to be a huge help. It's more just like, this is fascinating to me. I'm going to follow this, all the way through. A lot of times it's like that, I feel like. But yeah, it's like, to me, there's something about that. Yeah, it's bridging that, being here to be 100% fully myself, and knowing that that is inherently in service to and connected to collective liberation. I'm like, that's it for me.
Absolutely. And like, I know that I gotta let Nico go. Um, I just, in this moment where the amount of overwhelm is huge, I think changing the scale to be like, can you be authentically yourself and be audacious within that is something that that I can commit to doing. And then if you can be honest with yourself, then you can be honest with other people. If you can like speak truth to power more easily if you can speak the truth to your goddamn self. And so I think it's just the next best step is like that self-knowledge that you were talking about. And you're so wise, and I'm so glad that we got to talk, and I'm not gonna keep it forever and ever, but maybe we can do it again sometime. I'd love to hear
would
your wisdom.
would love that. Yeah, I love talking about these things with you, because we then like, it's like you bring in such wisdom and also like play and fun and humor, and and then it's like it makes me think of like 10 different things that I want to talk about. And
We just be like,
it's so, yeah, yes, 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 yes.
exactly. Enjoy New
Thank
York.
you.
Enjoy your rage rave.
Thank you. There'll be media. You'll probably see it. It's gonna be, who knows how it's gonna go, actually. You never really know with these things. But yeah, let's talk again soon. More updates. It's always fun. Catch up.
Good to see you, Boo. Thank
You
you for
too.
coming.
Big hugs to you. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.
The music at the beginning and end of this episode is from Kafari. Thank you to my guides and ancestors for supporting me in my storytelling. And thank you for listening to another episode of Science of Breana.